I wanted to, and I've wanted to do this for a while now. I wanted to keep the practice very bare. So I know we typically have a lot of techniques we move through and different ways of touching the body, but I wanted to see how we could sit with just one place for a while. And so that's what we started with. We started with just focusing on the breath in one location, that anapanasati, like that really narrow focus of the breath. Um, and I kind of coached you through some of the stuff that might come up when you hold your attention that kind of succinctly. And we stayed with that. And then we kind of moved. Well, actually, while we were there, we we also played with the idea of that I mentioned at the beginning of practice of equilibrium, being balanced with whatever's coming up instead of piling on or adding on with commentary and general disdain or dislike. And so then I wanted you to get an opportunity to play with that in your body because we can really feel the physical discomfort within ourselves. And so I kind of pointed your attention towards any place in your body that didn't feel super great. Um, and I wanted or asked you to hold your attention there, minus any commentary, judgment, or additional thoughts about it other than what it was, to introduce this flavor of equanimity. And then from there, we kind of blended in some compassion because that marries very well with equanimity, is being compassionate with this practice, having to begin again, having to start over, being patient with ourselves as we move through the process, and then brought us all back to our breath to kind of finalize and finish us out and close us out for our full practice today. And so, I, as always, appreciate you being here. It doesn't work if you don't, and I appreciate that you do. Once you kind of, one, get yourself in a stable position, two, check your breath and make sure you can take a good breath in. The next and final thing I'll ask you to do is close your eyes. And then that kind of sends the signal like, uh-oh, we're doing something different, right? And we're taking our attention inwards. We're going to kind of begin this process of observing, because that's what meditation is asking you to do. I had made this comment earlier before folks joined in, and that was, a lot of everything. I would say, not just a lot of everything we have to this moment is kind of predicated on where and how we hold this thing called our attention. And your formal practice, what you're doing right now, is a way of understanding how you hold your attention and the things that come up when you do. Because when you consciously understand that, then you can also move with the ebbs and flows of it differently. And you can consciously choose what you want to put in or what you'd rather let go of. And so that's kind of where we're going to move in practice today as we begin to kind of settle in for our practice. And our practice today is going to be centered around the idea of equanimity. And I think sometimes when we hear the word equanimity, we think it means that we always need to be balanced and we need to be okay with everything that's happening. And I don't want you to think that's what I'm saying here. I'm saying that we need to be able to sit with and observe what's happening and then move from a place of conscious choice about if we want to interact with or if we just choose to not add any fuel to the fire. Like that's what your practice opens us up to being able to do. And so with that, notice the breath. And I'm going to ask you to kind of set your attention in one place with your breath. And the way I would think about it is place your attention in the location in which your breath begins. So whether that's breathing in through the mouth or breathing in through the nose, but kind of hold your attention right at the starting point of your breath. and let it rest there. Now, the first thing that happens typically when you receive an instruction, like let your attention kind of rest in this one pointed place, is that everything in the mind starts to pull at you. You might start to notice sensations in the body, or you might start to remember your grocery list or some other random thought that slips in. And all you want to do is hold your attention right here and follow the breath. And it's enough to simply do this and notice how you respond in those moments when you're distracted. Because two things are going to occur here as you observe your breath. One, you'll notice when your mind's distracted. And then the second part of it will be if you decide to add any frustration, any opinions, anything else on top of what is. When we can do that, when we can meet the distractions without adding on, that is what I mean by equanimity. It is meeting the moment that is and then not piling anything else on top of it. It is a willingness to work with the conditions as they are. And when we can get a rhythm of steadiness and holding our attention at the breath, we can start to feel the subtleness of the moment. It becomes easier to notice when the body wants to fidget, or the temperature of the room or the space that you're in, or the texture to the clothing or the blanket that's touching your skin. And when we hold our attention in one space like this, it allows other things to amplify. So you might be sensing and feeling your body a bit differently just by holding your attention here. Because even a sensation becomes a distraction when you want your attention to be in one place. This act of holding your breath here in this way also stirs up your thinking mind with a variety of commentary about this very simple act, but not easy, of holding your attention. You might start to notice that the speed of your breathing shifts and adjusts kind of naturally on its own. As the body kind of takes on some of these qualities of being focused. Take a moment and notice where in the practice you could apply a bit of that idea of equanimity. And we simply observe whatever's arising, notice it, its characteristics, its qualities. And that's enough. Another way we can begin to explore this idea of being and meeting ourselves with equanimity in the moment. It's not only in just holding our attention on something like you've been doing for practice thus far, but we can feel it at the level of our physical body. And so here you get the option to detour a bit. You can keep your attention exactly where it is, focusing on the breath, doing what we've been doing. Or you can begin to let it shift and begin to scan the body. And I want you to find a place, a sensation within the body that maybe doesn't feel too great. And I want you to meet that sensation with your intention, with your attention, and with a bit of equanimity built in too. That I'm just going to observe this thing, minus my commentary, and see what I see, notice what I notice. And it's okay if the physical sensation in the body shifts or changes. You can kind of follow it and move it as you need to. The practice becomes a reminder that what is happening. And then there's what we are choosing to overlay on top of it. And because that's a choice, you don't have to put anything on top of it. And even in the way that our thought patterns arise, The same concept of equanimity can be included in that. And with it, we can begin to blend in compassion. Compassion to whatever's coming up in this moment. That in this moment, you can hold it with compassion. That you may be kind to yourself in this moment or patient. Right? You can choose to hold whatever's arising a bit softer, a bit easier. Embedded in this process is the act of letting go. Every time you've redirected your attention or you've seen something dissolve under the weight of it, or you simply let an exhale leave, those are reminders that these things that seem so real are simply changing, dissolving, recreating, both in thought, both in physical form. Your practice is helping you to cultivate the ability to be curious and not pulled by it all. Begin to draw your attention back to the starting point of your breath if you're not there. But I'd like us all to return there. As you sit here with the breath, notice if there's any part of the practice that you'd still like to be different than what it is right now. And allow yourself to, with the next few breaths, let that go. And allow the practice to be what it's been. As we begin to draw down practice, I'll leave you with this consideration. One of the magical things about practicing meditation is that we can learn to be at ease and clear in any circumstance if we're willing to direct our attention in a skillful way. Every time we come to sit is an opportunity to learn how to practice our attention in a skillful way. Taking your time, slowly begin to blink your eyes open. Give yourself an internal bit of gratitude for having shown up and sat with whatever was present with you.
Like and subscribe.